The lights go out. The arena holds its breath. And in that silence, a group of young dreamers from the Philippines stand trembling backstage, knowing that in the next 3 minutes their lives could change forever. What happens next makes Simon Cowell jump out of his seat and slam the golden buzzer in disbelief. If you love unbelievable talent and emotional journeys, subscribe now because this is a story you will never forget. When the massive stage of America's Got Talent 2025 fell into darkness, no one in the audience truly understood what they were about to witness. The host's voice echoed through the theater as he introduced a dance crew from the Philippines with an unusual name, Light Wire. There was a polite ripple of applause, but nothing more. Lead dance acts had been seen before, and many people assumed this would be just another glowing performance, entertaining but forgettable. Backstage, however, the members of Lightwire were holding hands, whispering quick prayers into Gaelic, their hearts pounding so loudly they could almost hear them over the crowd. Lightwire was not born in a fancy studio or trained under famous choreographers. The crew began years earlier in a cramped neighborhood on the outskirts of Manila, where power outages were common and street lights flickered like tired stars. The founder and leader, a soft-spoken young man named Marco Reyes, had grown up watching his father repair broken electrical wires for neighbors just to earn enough money for rice. As a child, Marco was fascinated by light. When the electricity would come back on after a blackout, he would stare at the bulbs glowing again, amazed at how light could change fear into comfort. Dance entered Marco's life as an escape. He and his friends practiced on concrete streets using a battered phone speaker for music. When they discovered cheap lead wires sold in a local market, Marco had an idea. What if light could dance too? What if movement and light could tell stories that words could not? They experimented for months, taping wires to old clothes, burning their fingers with faulty batteries, failing again and again. Neighbors laughed. Some said they looked ridiculous, others told them to get real jobs, but Lightwire kept going. Their rehearsals often ended with empty stomachs and sore muscles. One member, a shy girl named Alessa, nearly quit when her mother fell ill and hospital bills piled up. Another dancer, John, worked night shifts as a security guard, sleeping only a few hours before practice. Every member carried a burden, and every member believed that if they could just reach a bigger stage, their struggles would finally mean something. The idea of auditioning for America's Got Talent felt impossible. None of them had passports at first. They raised money by performing at fiestas, weddings, and even traffic intersections. A video of their street performance went mildly viral online, catching the attention of a Filipino community group in the US that helped sponsor their trip. When they finally boarded a plane for the first time in their lives, several of them cried quietly in their seats, afraid that this dream might vanish the moment they landed. Now standing in the shadows of the AGT stage, fear crept in. Simon Cowell was known for being brutally honest. The golden buzzer was rare, precious, and unpredictable. Marco reminded the group of why they were here. Not for fame, not for money, but to show the world that light can come from the darkest places. The stage manager gave the signal. It was time. As the music began with a slow, almost haunting melody, thin lines of light flickered to life in the darkness. Gasps rippled through the audience as glowing outlines appeared, forming human shapes that moved like spirits. At first it was simple, elegant, almost delicate. The dancers moved as one, creating patterns that looked like flowing water, then shifting into sharp geometric designs. The judges leaned forward, intrigued but cautious. Then came the first twist. The music abruptly changed to a deep emotional instrumental, and the lights began to separate from the bodies, creating illusions of floating hearts, breaking chains, and rising wings. The story became clear without a single word. It was the story of struggle, of being trapped, of dreaming of freedom. Alessa stepped forward, her lights forming the image of a small child reaching for a star. The audience fell silent, many holding their breath. Halfway through the performance, something unexpected happened. One of the LED units flickered and went dark for a split second. Backstage technicians froze, fearing a technical disaster, but the dancers did not panic. Jun subtly adjusted his position, and the choreography transformed the glitch into part of the story. The darkness became symbolic, making the following burst of light even more powerful. The crowd erupted into applause mid-performance, something rarely seen. The music built toward a climax, blending traditional Filipino rhythms with modern electronic beats. The lights exploded into vibrant colors, forming images inspired by Filipino culture: the sun from the flag, waves of the ocean, and finally a massive glowing heart that seemed to pulse with life. Marco stepped to the center as the rest of the crew formed a circle around him. In that moment, the heart shattered into 1,000 points of light, raining down like stars. As the final note hit, everything went black. For a heartbeat, there was silence. Then the entire theater exploded. People jumped to their feet, cheering, screaming, wiping tears from their eyes. The camera cut to the judges. Howie Mandel's mouth hung open. Sofia Vergara clapped wildly, laughing in disbelief. Heidi Klum placed her hand over her heart, visibly emotional, and Simon Cowell, the man known for holding back, stood up slowly, shaking his head as if trying to process what he had just seen. Simon leaned toward the microphone. He admitted that he had seen many LED acts over the years, and thought he had seen it all. But this, he said, was different. This was not just lights and dance. This was storytelling at the highest level. This was hard. The crowd roared again. The members of Lightwire held each other, tears streaming down their faces, unsure of what was coming next. Then it happened. Simon Cowell stood, walked to the center of the judges' table, and without hesitation slammed the golden buzzer. Golden confetti rained from the ceiling as the music swelled. Alessa collapsed to her knees, sobbing uncontrollably. June covered his face with his hands, overwhelmed. Marco stood frozen, eyes wide, as if afraid this was a dream he might wake up from. The audience chanted their name: Lightwire, Lightwire, Lightwire. As the confetti fell, Simon walked onto the stage, something he rarely did. He hugged Marco and told the group that this was the kind of act that could win the whole competition. He said their journey, their creativity, and their courage were exactly what the world needed right now. In that moment, millions watching at home felt it too. Backstage interviews later revealed even more twists. The crew admitted they had almost been denied visas due to paperwork issues. Their costumes had been handmade just days before the audition. One of the batteries had been repaired with borrowed tools the night before. Everything had been stacked against them, yet somehow, everything had come together at the exact right moment. In the weeks that followed, Lightwire became a global sensation. Their audition clips spread across social media, inspiring dancers, artists, and dreamers around the world. Kids in small towns taped lights to their clothes, pretending to be them. Filipino communities everywhere felt a surge of pride, seeing their culture and creativity celebrated on one of the biggest stages in the world. But for Lightwire, the golden buzzer was not the end of the story. It was a beginning. They returned to their hotel that night, exhausted, still covered in confetti, sitting on the floor eating fast food and laughing through tears. Marco reminded them that the real challenge was still ahead. The live shows would be harder. The expectations would be higher. But no matter what happened, they had already proven something important. Dreams born in darkness can shine the brightest. As the competition continued, Lightwire pushed themselves further, creating even more complex routines, deeper stories, and bolder designs. Each performance carried pieces of their lives, their struggles, and their hope. Win or lose, they had already changed how the world saw LED dance acts, turning spectacle into soul. And somewhere back in Manila, neighbors who once laughed now gathered around small screens, cheering, crying, and believing again. Children who watched the streetlights flicker at night now saw possibility instead of limitation, all because a group of young dreamers decided that light was worth chasing.